What is up, Overwatch community? My name is Trips. Welcome back to another episode of Watchpoint. We've got a couple of things to talk about this week as far as some meta predictions that Captain Planet posted, some secret nerfs to Lucio that nobody found out about until Professor Ganymede shared with us the information that he knows about. But before we get into the news, I'd like to welcome back Yiska.
Hello.
And Volcha.
Hello.
So before we get too more into the news, how have you guys been doing as far as your playing Season 2, the rankings that you guys got and things like that? Has it felt different than the first season, now that we're kind of deep into it?
I'm at very high platinum at the moment and kind of got their sense placement. I'm noticing matches are all over the place. I played primarily with the team, but I did a little bit of solo queue, and solo queue is a little strange. It seems like the skill variance is really high at that level for some reason. Like, you get some really shit players and then some really great players. So it feels like after the placement, it feels like, I don't know any data, but it feels like the amount of people they put into my particular bracket is pretty high, and the skill gap is pretty substantial. So that's what I've been noticing primarily since the season started.
Pretty much same here. Like, if I usually am a support main, but I also got, I think I was placed at 2,950 or something after my placements.
Mm-hmm.
And just playing at that rating is like, I'm doing like 50% DPS damage, team damage if I'm playing DPS. In some games, and then there's some, people that were also like 75 last season in the opponent team, and they just wreck my team. Like, it's also awful because I never really played that much DPS, so I'm not really able to carry as much as I should be. But I don't know. Currently it's super strange. I hope it evens out eventually. And I'm kind of annoyed by the soft reset, really, because the quality of the games are honestly pretty shit. It's mostly noticeable that nobody's talking and everything. There's no coordination, and I don't know.
How do you feel about the statement that it sort of Reddit goes as a statement that a lot of people are in plat. Like, a lot of people are either plat or high gold. Like, it's kind of weird that is the medium. Like, that's the average. Is like high gold area, because at least in like League of Legends, average was like silver. Like, that's where the majority of people were. So the way that, because Blizzard kind of has control over where the skill versus the actual quality, the tier goes. So it's weird that they placed people so high in the curve, and it's like they group people up all in this bell curve.
Yeah, I wonder if it's some artifact of the sort of individual hero balancing they've been trying to perfect between the supports and all that. I'm wondering if it's, I don't know, some byproduct of that there's a great homogenization in Platinum of most players. But I don't know, it's highly annoying, I guess is the way to put it, as my experience. It stinks. It's very frustrating. I had a buddy who streams, and I was watching him stream solo matches, and it looked like the most like soul-crushing experience anybody has ever gone to. Like, I was getting pissed just watching his stream, like furious. It was pretty bad. I don't know. It could, maybe it is intentional. Maybe they want, because Blizzard has been saying how they want people to feel good about their rank, I guess is like kind of the buzz phrase they've been using. So maybe they kind of wanted a lot of people in Platinum because Platinum's like higher up, like higher up on the bell curve than really. So it would be the equivalent of like the whole class getting B's instead of C's, I guess. So maybe that's what's going on.
The thing that's weird though is like then there's going to be no one in bronze. Like, literally no one besides the people who either dive their accounts into the ground to start doing the, like, oh, I came from bronze and I made it all the way up to master, or the people who play, like Russians or something, who just, like, don't get it and they like throw their mice against the wall and like play with their TVs upside down or something.
Team Hammer Down syndrome.
Yeah, like I don't get who's going to be in bronze, and that's just like throwing a whole bracket out the window. Basically, there should be people in there.
What you just described is basically my platinum game. So I don't know. I mean, I really can't imagine anyone playing worse than some of the guys I'm getting. Like, it's virtually impossible. It's not even that they're mechanically awful. They just make stupid decisions. It's like we're playing a long range, like let's say Numbani, and they have like Pharah offense and stuff, like 0 tanks. They play some bullshit, and he goes Reaper or something. It's like. And he's constantly getting outraged, and he just sticks with it the entire map. Like, no reflection upon why you're getting dicked on at all. It's just like playing. I don't know.
I had a duo queue that was on King of the Hill, and I played Lucio, and I came out with silver damage done. And, like, what? That was a bad match.
Using just this as a segue to the next... What have you guys seen a lot of? Like, what is the new, what is the new tank offense, that type of deal? What are people playing?
I guess solo queue, it's kind of all over the place. I mean, you're even going to get like offensive Symmetra sometimes, just people straight up trolling. As far as like team, it's pretty consistent with what the meta report's saying. Well, a lot more monkey maybe than what you would see in the pro scene. Just throw a monkey in your face, and then everyone else focuses down a target. It's kind of like a pretty standard approach you see a lot. Most everyone's running Reinhardt, though. Not on King of the Hill, I guess is what I'm seeing. Nothing too crazy. Not a lot of Ana.
So based on this is what we were looking at today is Captain Planet posted on Reddit, and then Glemda took that and kind of slimmed it down because it was a huge Reddit post, and they kind of condensed it and made just the exact points. You guys can check it out, obviously, just on glenda.com/Overwatch. And basically what Captain Planet is saying is there's no A tier, but kind of the average is Zenyatta, Lucio, Zarya, McCree, Reinhardt, Winston, Mercy with an anecdote, Genji, Tracer, and Reaper. Those are the core characters that we're going to be seeing in. Obviously, these are extremely high-end games and actual competitive play.
I'm actually surprised to not see Pharah. I thought there would be some Pharah viability with the Mercy change. I thought that would kind of come out on some maps, but I haven't seen any Pharah.
The thing that he actually has a section down here for Pharah, and he said that Pharah for the following week, which is the week we're in right now, that we're ending right now, basically, is Pharah is supposed to be good with the new Mercy buff, and she's going to be top dog for this week, but that's not an actual good buff for her, and she's going to fall off. She's not actually going to be that good once people actually get comfortable with the meta.
Yeah, I mean, there's also this nip comp in the room, the 3 tank 3 support.
Yeah.
And I actually ran that with a full pre-mate, and we ran it on the worst map, basically, to play it on, which is Eichenwald. And it's not even that bad, like on the first or last point. But the mid section, like the skybox is just infinite, seemingly, and nobody gets to the Pharah, right? People then actually pick Pharah into you. And then it's like, okay, the Yana. Okay, we also had a huge skill disparity in with the guys we played. So it was like 270s, and then the next best one was like 58 or something. So you can't have all the carry roles basically to assign to that Pharah, but it's kind of hard on that section. I don't think it's that good there. It's also who's on Pharah duty there. Roadhog should be, but the hook is often outranged. And then it's basically down to Zen, who it's also pretty hard, and I guess Ana, and they have to DPS against a a Mercy Pharah combo, you know?
Yeah.
Couldn't you basically zone her out with Roadhog by taking top in that midsection and pretty much pushing her to the very edges of the map?
You could maybe, but the Roadhog would basically do nothing else, right? But
Yeah.
that could be a possibility, yeah. But then you also have, okay, I guess not. Yeah, it could be. Maybe it works, but maybe she can. I'm not sure if the map is big enough so she can just flank around and just, long range annoy you enough to make a difference. But we really got dicked on, and also I think there's a possibility that the Roadhog just gets thrown down continuously, and it's also a pretty long way to get up again. So yeah, but that is certainly a possibility to just try.
Mm-hmm. He does actually have another anecdote in here. I mean, just as far as the buffs that she's been receiving, and it says because of the implementation of Time Bank, that on 2 capture point maps, Mei is going to be basically king or queen technically. On the 2 capture point maps, just with the new ultimate radius increase and the ability to wall off all the first points. Have you guys been seeing a lot of Mei's coming up?
I've been lucky enough not to encounter too many capture point matches in my play. I just through luck of the draw I haven't. I kind of hate those maps, so I can't really speak to it. I think I did like 1 or 2, and there was a Mei there on both of them. I think, if I remember correctly. No, it was only on Hanamura. There wasn't one on Volskaya. So
I play actually a bunch, and I think she's pretty crazy. My team is still not that convinced of her, but I think the more you see her in action, and also I think it's not even like if you're playing with a Mei, it's hard to recognize what she is actually doing for you, unless she clearly walls off like half the team or something. It's like huge plays that are obvious, but if you are playing against a Mei, then you feel the power of what can happen to you, basically. And I still feel like she's insane right now on these 2 CP maps, and also I think still King's Row first point is very good. Also, like the new system with payload, it's like when the second round comes up, so both push to the end, and then you have like a minute left, and then the opponent team pushes in. For instance, think King's Row in the tiny areas, like the streets part, and the overtime is running, and all you have to do is basically get the team off the point for like, I don't know, a second, and overtime ticks down. That's insane with me. That's like super easy. It's almost 100% chance of just getting it there, right? You just throw it onto the payload. What's the opponent ought to do, right? They can't get off, and they will most likely be cleaned. So, I don't know. For these scenarios, she's insane, I think. And instantly a game ender. Ult comes up, it's done, basically. Yeah. I don't know. Unless you get like swooped up by a diva, defense matrix or something stupid. It's pretty insane.
Okay. A little bit of a nice preview of what we're going to get in the meta to come. Hopefully it gets shaken up if another character like Sombra gets released probably in October. That's what people are saying. Maybe towards the end. Oh, excuse me. But because of she has a lot of similarities to Day of the Dead, so it might even be on BlizzCon, actually, just the way that the time frame works. Up next is just a couple of blue posts and things that they said they're actually working on the in-game leaderboards. They've been shelved for a while because they've been working on the ranked play and the beginning of Season 2 and things like that. So now that Season 2's out, they have a little bit of time to work on some extra features to improve the game a little bit. We've talked about the leaderboard pretty much ever since the game, went into beta. The difference is whether or not to show kills, whether or not to show different stats, things like that. They didn't give any specifics here, but if without going too deep into it, if there's one feature you guys wanted to see that's not a kill-death ratio, is there anything that you can think of?
It's like the ability to have comparative stats to the other players in the match, opponents and allies. Just the ability to compare is very important to me. To see where your team might not be matching up against their team. In a general sense, attack and defense is a little bit different how things go, but you could still see like, our DPS was like a quarter of their DPS, or our Reinhardt was absorbing so much damage while theirs wasn't taking much, but like we had good damage. You get to kind of break it down from a comparative standpoint what the match means, and the absence of that now is honestly pretty goddamn horrifying. And for me as a player that likes stats,
there's really no reason to open up the leaderboards besides looking at your own medals, is there?
Yeah, well, I open it up to see who's alive and
that
what teammate ults are, but that's it. Yeah,
I mean, as far as the numbers go, the actual stats, which there barely is any. Another thing, this one really, really upsets me, is that they are way off from replays. It's not even going to be by the end of the year. It's something they want to work on, but they haven't had the opportunity, they said, and they're passionate about the feature and want it in the game badly. I think, just from my personal standpoint, this is more important than, I love Halloween, and I love all the skins. I mean, out of the three of us, I'm the one that likes all the fancy bullshit. But I want replays. Coming from a Dota mindset, being able to, record or, continuously reverse and look at the actual game where it was, or even for content creators to, actually have coaching sessions and things like that. Because if you are able to record a game within the system, even if it's like, okay, we're only going to record your replays for a week, you can download them to your local system, but we don't have any, after a week they're dumped off of our servers. We don't have that much storage. That's whatever. But being able to jump between and go back and forth, different players, even to watch your own match from, like a spectator camera flying around the map, is nice, because you can compare you to other players and you can review yourself. Whereas now, you can record yourself playing the game, but it's just you first person. It's not, you can see, where that tracer came behind you or something, and you should have been looking in that area more often or something like that. Just, I like replays. I think they should be more of a priority.
Right now, the team I play on, we record our footage and we review each other's footage. And to get an actual idea of what's happening in the match, you have to watch like 4 or 5 different perspectives. And it's so time consuming just to watch all this footage. And you're like, okay, the Reaper's over here, and he's over there. You can't. It's like putting a puzzle together. It's awful. And with the absence,
you can't even continue. Sorry.
With the absence of like an actual leaderboard with stats, there's nothing to go on for improvement beyond like putting puzzle pieces together and guesswork, and the blatant, I guess.
Yeah, the one little anecdote I want before I let Yiska talk is, you can't watch the other team play, because it's not like you're going to be like, hey guys, do you mind sending us some of your footage that you guys record so we can, learn how you play? Fuck no. Like, why would they do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's most apparent actually if you look at the VOD analysis videos that a couple of people have been doing, and not just for one individual player, whether someone is coaching one player and the first person actually is all you want, because that's basically also what you basically everything that's on screen, that's what your coaching zone is. Other than, okay, maybe you could say, okay, you got to look around a little bit more to have more awareness or something. Okay, fair enough. But for these macro strategy things, like, for instance, Flame does it a lot, and it's really excruciating to just see him trying to, who killed him? Because in Overwatch, like, okay, the fact that, I don't know, a mercy pistol kills someone and it's top right in the kill feed doesn't really tell you who, in actual fact, killed him, right?
Yeah.
It's like a Hanzo arrow hitting someone, and then someone else does a tiny bit at the end. That's inconsequential, and he probably would have died anyway. So I don't know. Other than that, I think it's also, to be fair to Blizzard, it's probably not a sexy feature. If you think about the group, or the amount of people that want this feature in the game, I think it's realistically, even not even the people who feign to want the feature, because I think there's a lot of signaling, hey, I review my, like, I'm very self-reflective. Like, sometimes I record myself in the kitchen and see if I poured the milk correctly in the oatmeal or something, right? Nobody, like, the vast majority of people aren't like that. Nobody, like, otherwise I wouldn't be playing Bastion every second game on my team, right? So I think in that case, it's actually pretty fair for them to not put it as like a first priority. It is pretty nice to hear that it's coming, and coming from them, it's actually believable, because that there's still this ongoing meme where Riot said for League of Legends that replays are coming in like 2012, and we still don't have them, right? So I really hope they don't suck like all the other replay systems I have to deal with do. For instance, CSGO is like a nightmare to me, because you would have to religiously study all the console commands to effectively, navigate that thing. Mm-hmm. And the SC2 part, or I think the system is the same for Heroes of the Storm. That is also a nightmare to me. Like, being unable to skip forward and backwards like instantly is like, oh, dude, really? Now I gotta play the entire replay so then I can click whenever I want. That's so terrible. I really hope it's like smooth and it is worth waiting for.
Yeah, Dota is even though it's still Valve, Dota is a very good example, in my opinion, of a replay system. At least comparatively.
I would guess their priority, as far as like that sort of thing goes, would be more on a better spectator system. That would probably be something that
it's probably going to come in the same package.
Yeah, that would be nice. It needs both, but I think if it was up to me, I'd rather have replays, because then, I mean, you can kind of work around the spectator problems, not real time, but like retroactively and for like analysis through that. But I don't know. I would imagine if it came down to it, they'd want a better spectator system to hype the esport angle a little bit more, because that's quite lacking right now too.
Yeah. Okay, the next blue post we have here is just the abnormality of play of the games. I mean, if you pay attention to the Reddit at all, I mean, earlier, I think it was yesterday, there was a Torbjorn play of the game where the guy got play of the game for just dying twice. Like, just ridiculous stuff. Or, like a Mercy that just flies over and shoots some guy once and then dies, and then you just see her body roll off a cliff or something. But I don't get it. Ever since they said the 1.3 patch, it's quick play has been Bastion, Genji, and Torbjorn have been getting the most play of the games, and for competitive, Mercy, McCree, and Reaper.
And Mercy, yeah. Seemingly every second play of the game in my games is Mercy.
Mm-hmm.
So. If there's a Mercy, it's going to be Mercy play of the game, was my experience.
Yeah. It's probably every second Mercy, because there's no Mercy on King of the Hill most of the time, even though people are actually starting to do that too. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's also like, I have to confess that I care more about this than I probably should, because it's really inconsequential, and the system really won't be able to actually tell you the play of the game in the literal sense reliably most of the time. But I don't know. I kind of feel cheated quite often, especially now that I have to play DPS more. It's like, okay, I got a pretty good play, or 2 or 3 in one game, and then it's just a 3-man res that wasn't even really that, sneaky or anything. It was just everyone kept dying around them, and she just pressed Q. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's disheartening sometimes.
They've had this problem with the play of the game since early beta. They've never really been able to balance it right, and I almost see it as emblematic of the individual hero character ranking system they have for ranked. Like, like they can't get the play of the game right, and I imagine that's somewhat based, at least
Yeah,
at least philosophically, on the ranked system on judging
yes,
individual performance. So I don't know.
and
I see it as emblematic of that problem.
that is hella scary. Yeah,
How do you guys feel about
yeah,
like the balance of play the game as far as, obviously technically it should be, all the offense people getting play the game because they're getting the most kills or like Mercy getting reses. But where is the middle ground for, like Reinhardt? Like how is he going to get play of the game unless he does a hammer down and kills everybody? But what if he did really well for his team by blocking, a Pharah ult or like Pharah ult plus Zarya ult or Genji reflects like a Zarya ult and a Hanzo ult at the same time and wipes the entire enemy team. Not that that happens that often, but it just I don't want to see it's always Bastion or it's always Mercy. Like
Yeah.
where are the other implementations of so that every character has a chance to get play of the game to some extent. Obviously, if the character is not that good, it's going to be harder.
I would like if the algorithm took the whole match in context and was like, okay, the match was kind of not a lot of progress happened, and then something happened, and then they wiped all the way to the end, and then it like highlighted that one spot that like the choke was broken, or
Mm-hmm.
the offense blew 4 ults and were stuffed, something like that. I would like to see instead of it seems to just be like mercy equals like priority plus res number. It just
yeah,
kind of like that's how it seems right now.
yeah. It feels like it's like the total sum of points you're getting in the game that the ones that tick up, even though they are not taking the contextual. What does it mean? What does this
Yeah.
res mean? Because a 4-man res that doesn't lead to a push can't be the can't, or that doesn't lead to a one team fight, I guess, can't in the literal sense be the play of the game because it obviously isn't,
Yeah.
right? A play of the game is something that swings the game or wins the game for someone, right? And I think an algorithm can account for that. It's just very, very complex if you think about it. For instance, something like Farah is ulting and the Reinhardt then blocks it, and they predict that X people would have died or something, which is kind of possible, I guess. But then again, how do you make the difference between a Reinhardt just standing in the choke and shooting, and people would have also hit the guys behind that? Like you can't highlight that, and it's also not very nice to look at. So
Yeah.
to take all this stuff into account, it's super hard to come up with an algorithm. And again, that is also, like you said, the philosophy behind that, and in naming this plane of the game and putting it down to an algorithm is just as unreliable as ranking someone or giving him skill rating based on the numbers that we're currently accumulating in the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just as inaccurate. And I don't know. It's the thing is with the skill rating. It's like, okay, just do win loss. We don't really lose that much by not valuing contribution. While I do think that play of the game, just taking it out is not really a solution. I think it's a pretty neat feature and it's actually quite fun.
Yeah.
Right. It's like it's almost, to be fair, I think I'm also still in the phase where I'm remembering like a sick play that a guy, like a friend of mine did. And he's like giddy because he thinks he's getting it, and he's probably justified in feeling that he should be getting it. And then it's just a fucking awful, 3-man rest, and everyone's like, in TeamSpeak, like, oh my god. And
Yeah.
it's like,
I've had plenty of people go, "Oh, that's play of the game," and then we get to the end and it's like, "What the hell?" But I think it just needs work. To be honest, I hope it gets better, but it's different. I don't care so much about the 3-man reses and things like that. I care about like it just shows like a corner of the room, like those just ridiculously buggy ones.
I would almost at this point rather play the game be a bit more randomized than Mercy equals play of the game or Bastion equals, like it's been that way for a long time. I remember it used to be Reaper used to get like play of the game all the time. No matter if he got like 2 kills on his Death Blossom, he'd get play of the game. Now he never does. I think he needs like a 6-man wipe at this point, like a full wipe before he's like probably gonna get play of the game. But anyways, instead of like at this point, if they can't figure it out, maybe just have it a little bit more randomized. Like just pool all like 3-4 man whatevers and just scramble them up and see what happens.
That is also kind of strange because it feels to me that okay, for play of the game, it's actually the maximum points of score, but for the cards, it feels like there is a rotating feature in there. It feels like okay, we have this one guy that's just better than anyone else in our 6-man team. He's just better. He's like an 80 player, top 500, right? And he should be getting a card every single game, and he doesn't, right? While doing 40% of the team damage, while getting 60 kills, sometimes he just doesn't get a card. And it's not that he doesn't get a card because the opponent is better and we're losing, but it's also stupid that often sometimes you lose, and then you still get 3 cards for your team, right? And then you get 3 cards, and he's obviously the top performer, but he didn't get a card. So I think just intuitively, it feels like to me there is some rotation, so you feel at least a little bit appreciated,
I hate the bad cards you see, like Roadhog hook accuracy, 16%, or something like that, and it's like blazed up there in all of its glory. And you're like, oh, like, why is that there? I got 3 medals as Zen, like that should be up there. Yeah, I don't know.
It's the same, like especially for Roadhog. It's like okay, I actually have legit 5 gold medals now. I'm actually first in healing because nobody picked healing again, or just very shittily.
Yeah.
And hook accuracy card. What? Like, I have 5 gold medals, man.
Zen, I played a ton of Zen. No matter how many gold medals you get, it's always Transcendence healing card. He doesn't get anything else, no matter what. I mean, like, maybe if his team, like, all rage quit, maybe, he'd get a card. I don't know.
That's exactly that, yeah.
Okay. And then Junkrat always gets top damage, no matter what. He could have not top damage and probably get a top damage card.
And that is also why we need contextual. Like if we have a scoreboard, I really don't care if a Junkrat has top damage. If we're playing against a Mei, Reinhardt, all these classes where you just can stats pad into the shields or into the wall. Show me how much damage did he do to the shields, how much damage did he do to the wall, so I can contextualize, because sometimes damaging the shield is actually not a bad idea. It very often comes down to shield races, right? So I want to see both stats, but like a Junkrat saying, yeah, I'm actually justifying in having my pick, I'm first in damage. Yeah, well, you pick Junkrat. That's the default. If you're not, dude, get out, right? Mm-hmm. Junkrat is first in damage if the opponent has a Reinhardt or a Mei. It's pretty much a given.
Okay, so this is the last blue post. It's actually going to have almost nothing to do with the actual post itself, but it involves the Overwatch development team, and Yiska wanted to point out just the differences in brands. We talked about it, I believe, a little bit, especially when they started putting out, like dev blogs and things like that. This list, how many people work at Overwatch, and this is the discussion of, how long does it take for something to be implemented when it actually gets talked about, why it has to take so long, and all this other stuff. And that's not too exact of what we want to mention today, but just in overall, they're talking about things that they have in their group of people that might not be so obvious. So they have, obviously they have the actual development team, the suits, the, engineers coding the game, putting it together. They have sound designers, they have social media people, they have lawyers, they have IT people making sure that the servers are stable. They have people creating, all of the animations, and that's actually a little bit into the Blizzard side. It's not just specifically Overwatch unless it's on that side of it. creating the comic books, all the other stuff that we like, all the gameplay videos, all the training videos, all the dev updates, all of the people that encompass Overwatch itself is roughly, they said, about 100, give or take some guys and girls that make all of the stuff that, you know, we see and we as a audience consume. And it's, when you compare it to things like Yiska said actually before the show, you know, like Valve just not talking to people at all. If you look at something like Ice Frog for Dota, Ice Frog actually used to do a lot of like dev updates and talk to the community on forums and things like that. And he got a lot of backlash for some of the changes because some of those people are pretty, I'll say, emotionally heavy. They're ruthless to, you know, if their favorite character gets nerfed, then they're going to, you know, find out where you live and kill you or something like that. Some ridiculous bullshit. But he basically ended up shutting up. And Ice Frog hasn't talked to the community directly in X number of years. I don't want to say a statement and not be correct, but he hasn't talked to the community in a long time. Or actually for a long time, Blizzard, WoW, just basically, you know, you think you do, but you don't. We're doing what we think is correct, and we're just going to do it and hope that you like it. If you don't, well, then don't play our game. And then Riot on the other side, too, is just, you know, like Yiska said a little while ago, they keep promising things and they do what they want. They actually have a, you know, this because we're on their platform, I don't, you know, Twitch themselves, but they have a strong grasp in Twitch too. They have the say in the Twitch community and they know Twitch devs and things like that, and they can just kind of do whatever they want. Although they do make, you know, they make spotlights on heroes and Riot does good things, it doesn't seem like anyone is putting forth an effort that the Overwatch team is. And it's nice. It's nice to see, like, the devs. I mean, like, even, like, the head, Jeff, he could be pawning it off on some other, like, community manager or something else, let somebody else do it, but him himself coming on consistently over and over and making posts on forums. And I'm pretty sure he probably has posts on Reddit, but a lot of the things that I'm seeing are just on the actual forums and things like that. But it's nice to have a, you know, not completely glass wall, but it seems like we do see a lot more.
Yeah. There's also, if you just contrast the two, I mean, it's pretty obvious that the Overwatch devs saw how other competitive communities treat the dev teams of those competitive games treat their players, right? Mm-hmm. And they were like, okay, probably they were like in a meeting, is it something we can do? Is this a selling point for our product? Are we confident enough in our product, also in our development, and open enough and critical enough that we can share our development process a little bit more than other companies, because there's obviously still a lot going on behind closed doors. And while also incorporating, you know, feedback from forums and also a lot from pro players. You know, in beta, they frequently asked for input. And I think other communities would just be loving that, right? Mm-hmm. If you look at CS, what's currently going on, it's like a crazy amount of, you know, salt towards wealth that they don't listen to the pro players and introduce ridiculous stuff and really just, you know, introduce skins and nothing else. But for Overwatch, it's clear that they're very vocal, and also it's crazy for a company that size if you consider what backlash they already had with some of the stuff, right? Because I remember us sitting here having some situations come up, for instance, the Tracer stuff, you know, the butt stuff with the Tracer. It's like, okay, Jeff made a post on the official forums, and it caused a huge shitstorm, and everyone's like, no, it was so nice while it lasted, please keep doing this. And they keep doing this, right? Mm-hmm. Even though they have been burned on this. And that's takes crazy courage, because I think like Valve's argument is that at some point you're just going to screw up, and then that's the issue, and you're doing a lot more harm by communicating. I think Blizzard is actually proving them wrong in the sense that sometimes you get burned, but if you keep doing this and keep being transparent, I think the vast majority of players, even the vocal community, actually comes around to think, yeah, but at least they're talking with us, right?
Yeah.
For instance, the replay system stuff, they communicated that with us, and I guess some people can be disappointed now, but in reality, we actually have something to go on now. We know that the replay system is coming.
Yeah,
right?
It's nice to at least, even if it's bad news, it's nice to know so that we can go, that sucks. That's not what I wanted to hear, but thanks. Like, thanks for the update. Like at least something, rather than just being like, they're not saying anything to us. They're never going to do it.
Or conversely, they could go the opposite direction, the Peter Molyneux direction, and just promise the world and not deliver and piss everyone off. I mean, that's also an option in this scenario. I'm wondering, I'm a little split on this approach. So I'm wondering, is this like genuinely like from the heart type of like true gamer culture bred?
One second.
Is this like from the heart kind of like true gamer bred inspiration, or is this really like, did they really take a cold clinical corporate look at this and go, okay, this is how game communities want to be treated and want to be talked to, and the type of information they crave, we're going to just do that and be very clinical about it? Like, is it the corporate end, or is it just Jeff being like a baller gamer from back in the day and knowing what being another baller gamer means and what they want to hear? Like, where does it come from? Does it come from the board meeting, or does it come from like Jeff's fireside chats? Like, that's what I'm kind of split about.
It's definitely both. It has to be both.
I would guess. I would
Blizzard
bet
wouldn't do it unless Jeff like got on his hands and knees and like begged, like, we have to talk to the community. Blizzard wouldn't do it if they weren't making money. It's a business.
If I were to make
for viewership.
If I were to make a judgment, I would lean that way and say it's probably from Jeff being kind of like a baller gamer.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't come at it from an informative point of view. He kind of comes at it like a respect point of view. It's almost like he respects the gamer more than like a typical corporate type person would. Like he's like, okay, they're big boys, let's treat them like big boys and talk to them like big boys, and for the most part that's what comes out, and it's most time met with positive response. Like, oh, we have these tick rate servers, let's go through the logic of why that is right now and that sort of thing, and just.
I still want my Farrah cup, by the way.
Yeah.
They don't have it for sale. But yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. Like you're saying, the Blizzard suits probably people on Overwatch team probably argued for them enough to make them understand why it has to be done. And a lot of it most likely was Jeff, being a player and being on the forums all the time, even though secretly he was pretty much a hothead from what I've heard. On the forums, but he knows that talking with the community and doing stuff, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was brought up a long time ago. It might not have been on the cast, but you said that for, was it EverQuest or something?
EverQuest, yeah.
Yeah, he made like a huge post about like what needs to be changed and why it needs to be changed and all this stuff. So that's why he's regularly on the forums. He knows forums. He used to live on the forums when he was on the player side. So that's why he is probably reading nonstop everyone's criticism. And he responds to even like the littlest, like, hey, Winston sucks right now. And he's like, well, actually, in our analytical, Winston's doing okay, but we'll make sure to keep an eye out for him.
You can almost see that come out in some of the interactions he has with the players in like a very subtle way. Like if someone says something like ridiculously stupid, he knows is bad, and you could like pretty much crush them by like bombing their village of ignorance with knowledge bombs.
Yeah.
Like he could just bomb them, but I don't know. He's skilled enough in like that sort of talk to like make it like subtext and like I don't know. You could tell what he's getting at, and the person who's reading it maybe is like stupid. They don't get it, but they know they're wrong.
hmm I think they're doing a really good thing. I know that if you don't want to jump back to a business side of view, if they are posting things on YouTube and they are having things on the forums, it's creating viewer interaction. It's creating more people involved in the game, more people involved in the actual community. Obviously, it's going to boost numbers when they have tournaments. It's a full cycle. It's the nice like home, like warm home feeling. Like we're right there with the devs. They're bros with us, and we're they're creating the game. We're playing it, but at the same time, once they turn on the videos, things that they want us to watch, they're going to start raking in the dough because everyone is watching it and watching all the ads and things like that. It's a give and take. A lot of people don't realize it's still a business. It's not 100%. I mean, it's not like you could go have barbecue with Jeff or something, but it's nice that at least he shows his face.
I'll say in the closed beta, he was much more interactive than right now. Maybe it was the smaller player base felt a little bit, or was statistically just a safer spot to put information out there, even though like the tracer bot thing happened in the closed beta, if I remember right. But anyways, there was like a blue post most every day, or at least 3 a week that were meaty posts that he was talking to the community and like giving his thoughts and feedback on. So yeah, that's changed, and I wonder if it's had something to do with like the missteps that have happened because of this open interaction. Maybe TracerGate did get corporate involved, and they're like, okay, we need to filter your correspondence a little bit more so that we don't have like the Reddit community and like all the online news sites freaking the heck out and making videos about this.
Yeah. I think, to be fair though, you're right in saying that they're less meaty. I think they are not less frequent. I think he still every morning gets a cup of coffee and just sits down, reads the forums, and if there's something that he thinks is a good thing to respond to, he probably will do it. Like, there's a lot of blue posts that just go unnoticed because it's not really a big deal. He's kind of pointing out the obvious or something. So in that sense, yeah. But the meaty ones, like the ones we have with the dev team or something, those used to be more frequent in beta for sure.
If you ever want to check out, by the way, blue posts on overpoon.com, it's actually part of Curse. They have recent blue posts. I mean, even an hour ago, it wasn't Jeff. It was by Elamaz. I mean, devs are consistently commenting on even like overpoon.com, not even like the forums. But as an all in all, it was basically just we wanted to have a nice little love letter to Blizzard. If this ever passes through the 12-person social media team that consumes all of the content created for their games, thumbs up, guys. Thanks for beta keys. Thanks for, good games. I'll take a Farrah cup and a onion. Is it an onion or a turnip, really? The little
I think
plushy
it's
things.
an octopus onion or something. That's the best I could figure.
I'll take one of those plushies. That'd be super cool. But yeah,
they apparently have a huge one at the office, I think.
Do they?
Yeah.
Because the only plushies that I actually see is the the Winston one, and then I believe they actually are having a Ganymede plushie as well.
Dude, you know what I want? I want this spray of this guy, like the sausage that has like the leek in his hand. I want that, like life size.
Oh God. Okay.
The best.
Where are we at on my notes here? Okay. This is something that I talked about in the opening. Professor Ganymede is a content creator on YouTube, and this was featured on Gosu. That he's the guy that basically told everybody about the infinite wall ride. the infinite Lucio change when it happened, because he's an extreme Lucio main. I mean, that's pretty much all he plays. And he said that there's actually another nerf that just got patched last week that we actually kind of missed. But this was posted on the 5th, and it is a change to the way that it notifies you how you're getting on fire. So this might be a little bit convoluted. I'm going to walk through this slowly. But if you want to look more in depth, just watch Professor Ganymede's video on it. The way that he explains it and the way that I'm interpreting it is when you are healing a teammate and they are, let's say, like 10 to 50 health, depending on the character, obviously, that's like light damage. I'll say 10 to 30 is light damage. And you would get +1 on fire, +1 on fire, +1 on fire. The more, like, if they kept taking damage and you weren't healing them fast enough, it would be +2 on fire, +3 on fire, the more damage that they were taking. And it would give you that notice of, oh shit, my team's starting to take a lot of damage. I need to focus on healing and stop, skating around the ceiling. Like, I need to either amp it up, I couldn't think of the word, or, actually use my ultimate or something like that, because my team's starting to take a lot of damage, and it went from 1 to 5. And 5 was like critical damage. And now he's saying, for whatever reason, it won't start giving you notifications of on fire until it's already past half health, like until you're already like critical damage. So it's a little bit of a nerf for the extreme elitist, high end, like people who consume every bit of information on the screen. But it won't affect the vast majority. It's just something that basically you're going to get less information if you paid that much attention.
Oh, I wonder, I haven't read to confirm or whatever, if this is a global change to all healers, like, Mercy and like Zenyatta. However, like to them, it doesn't matter because you have to look at the character you're healing anyways. So any information that's off screen for you that's fed wouldn't matter in that scenario anyways. So I don't know. It might just be like a change in that happened to have this strange effect on very high level play.
Yeah. The thing is, to be honest, I don't even think that's necessarily true. That very high levels of play is actually at all influenced by this, because to me, it's actually like the way he explains it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I have to be fair. I actually didn't even consider this for a moment, and Lucio is my second most played character. That, like, okay, in one sense, I understand why he can't call it a nerf, because it is factually, like, it makes the character a little bit weaker, because you could potentially consider this. But I also have to go with the get good argument, because that's like so inconsequential if you have any sort of decent court feeling and map awareness, that it really shouldn't matter. And especially it doesn't matter for the highest level of players, because you just know. Like, if you're a decent healer, most of the time, like, things that very rarely happen to me, for instance, is something like a guy is standing behind me and waiting for heals. That stops happening for decent healers at some level. You just have the awareness to know that someone is there. Then, okay, there's also I feel like there's very few cases where you really alternate your decisions making based on, or in Lucio play in general, why you do different things because there's people around you more hurt. The things I might do, for instance, is something like, okay, someone in front or someone I see is getting shot at and he's very low, then I might try to body block the damage, right? That's things I do. But the thing he suggests actually doesn't help me with that at all, because it doesn't tell me the location of the guy that's in critical health, right? It just tells me that someone is there that is at critical health, and in that sense, that it's a problem. What I do, however, say is that it might be a huge nerf, or potentially a significant nerf to playing Lucio in ranked games. Because if we consider on fire a metric that directly adds to your performance in game. So, for instance, if Blizzard says, okay, 50% of the time you're on fire, which is quite realistic for a healer, I still feel, especially on Killer of the Hill maps, then that gives you X rating points. Then, okay, that's a significant nerf, and it's also you're not ranking up as quickly as you were before, and that's fine to me. Okay, that's like in the maybe not on server, it's a huge thing, but then outside, how your matchmaking works and everything. Okay, that's fair enough. But I really think it's almost inconsequential, and especially, for instance, in competitive play, that's an absolute non-issue. Like I can promise you that very, very few Lucius would have to use this in top teams simply because they have comms, they have the awareness. You know, they aren't in scenarios where very often where this is, crucial information. And it really feels like a crutch to a player with bad awareness to me.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but
I mean, like you said, technically on a very, very minute level, yes, it is something that was removed, so it technically is a nerf. But I'm on the same page as you. Then I guess we'll, push that underneath the rug for a second and just say, do you think that this is a bad thing, though, that they are starting to remove information on the screen? Or lessen information by a slight minute amount?
That's kind of a tricky question. Depends on the information. I guess in this case, it was perceived to be possible useful information because it gave a little bit of context.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. In the end, it's on fire. And what the hell does on fire mean, really? So I'd be happy if even the icon went away. Like you could turn off the on fire icon, and even the voice line is a little, I don't know, annoying to me. Well, except for Junkrat. Junkrat is pretty great. But I don't know. It's just something that doesn't matter, and it is information. So as far as that goes, it's basically like McDonald's type information. Not very highly consumable, not very good for you.
Yeah. Okay, that one kind of threw me off. Yeah, it's. Are you? There's a cat on you? Okay. All right. So this is gonna be one of the last. This is the last topic. Besides, I have a finishing question for you guys. As a person myself, I do not like to sit in skirmish. Especially, there was a time where you would find in game, and you'd get in game, and then you run for a couple seconds, and it'd be like starting game, and you'd run for a couple seconds. Somebody would leave the game, and it'd be like, oh, returning to skirmish, and you'd go to skirmish. And so I was just like, screw it. I'm just gonna sit at the menu. I'll read Reddit or something, or watch a video, and I'll just wait for the real game to start. And I think that actually this is a good idea. That you should be able to switch between either menu, the skirmish, or having a practice range while searching option. So you can just play by yourself and shoot bots and climb walls and stuff like that. Get your aim geared up for a little bit of warm up for before your quick match game, before your to get warmed up for the day or something.
Personally, I'd rather use skirmish to warm up than the bot range. The bots are really, in my opinion, not something you want to warm up on. Probably, they're massive. Their heads are massive, and they don't look like any of the characters, and they don't move in a way that the characters move in. It's better just to have a custom game with AI, I guess. That way you get used to the different shooting at different heights. That's kind of important. If you're just shooting at the practice range, I mean, you can really attune yourself to just keeping your crosshairs at the same level and always getting headshots when you move it. When in reality, the characters have different heights or different, even the map has different heights. If you're on whatever map is someone's upstairs, it's not very good for practicing or keeping warm. I'd say maybe keeping warm, just see how fast you can kill them while jumping around and doing that sort of thing. I'd rather skirmish for that, but that's mostly because of my negative opinion of the practice range. I think the practice range is pretty bad, and they could
Yeah.
do much better. If it was a good practice range that, let's say, like, there's instead of having, like, robots, maybe have the robots, maybe even, like, the Roadhog robot, kind of like TF2 has, like, the man versus machine robot analogous characters, something like that might
Mhm.
be okay. And have it actually look like a map and not just a room where you're basically next to robots or a room that has a hallway. Like have it pretty varied.
Yeah.
That'd make me happy. Oh, and robots that can fly. Christ's sake, we need that. Robots that can fly so you could practice air shots or shooting people out of the air. But
So before we even consider this idea, the practice range itself needs to be updated and kind of overhauled, basically.
yeah,
That said, I think there is a significant amount of pro players that actually practice on that, which makes me. I'm also like I actually share your opinion that it's kind of, but
Mhm.
a lot of people actually do that.
Eh,
I would think they would pick Ana bots or something much more, but a lot of people actually these Taimu or Tailspin videos where they show their aiming practice, that it's all on those maps, and they always have to do like stupid shit, like for instance Farah E, like a robot off a cliff so they can practice air shots or something.
Mhm.
I don't know, it's kind of suboptimal. And also what you're saying with the hit boxes, like that's one thing that recently occurred to me is there's this concept of pre-aiming or pre-firing in other FPS, especially in CS, like pre-firing angles and getting headshots because you exactly know the height where a head would be and almost can pixel perfect get onto these positions. In Overwatch, that's with especially with projectile characters, and has been increasingly true for me when I play Zen. It's very hard to pre-fire because the ranges where the heads are, and also the for instance, there's a lot of stairs. For instance, it's very hard to pre-fire, and you actually want to pre-fire with projectiles. I feel like a lot more, and it has obviously, you can be safe killing someone behind a wall because the projectile is flying, potentially. So, and still, it feels like you're getting more headshots than you should be getting, which is probably also down to the the projectile update. But
Mhm.
I think it's like if you're talking about skill cap and practicing for these things, it's very hard. It feels like playing Zen. If we have like a cloud of or like a position, this is the circle where you should be aiming, and aiming here or aiming here is inconsequential. It's just as good as any other position is, right? And also spamming on this location. Yeah, you can just get lucky and someone comes around the corner there, or the projectile is this big, or you actually can't practice really because a Bastion head is up here and then a Diva head is up down there. I don't know. It's very hard to practice for these things and make it better. And because I constantly think about it, how should I be aiming as Zen, and it's very hard to come up with better techniques to improve long range spam because it just feels so random to me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Alrighty. Okay. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I think that kind of wraps us up for this week. Oh God, I gotta be better at ending these things. Do you guys have anything else you guys want to mention before we start wrapping up? Any burning questions or burning ideas?
I think people should start looking at Junkrat on offense, just for the sole purpose of winning shield fights, and he can dislodge. I mean, right now, people, if they're doing a static defense, they stay in the same spots in the maps all the time, and you can kind of get away with a lot by just trying to break that down and minimizing a lot of problems. I don't know. I think people are undervaluing Junkrat in a lot of scenarios. On cart maps, I should say.
Okay. Would you say, for instance, one thing I keep seeing, and I wonder if I'm just bad at Junkrat, because it does seem like a bad idea to me. For instance, attack Junkrat first point Hollywood. It feels like they're always up there, and okay, you can DPS the shield, but are you really going to hit someone up there? Because for me, like every time you're lower than the opponent team, Junkrat feels like to me. I don't know if it's just me aiming badly or.
I will consider myself the authority on aiming on Junkrat right now because I'm number one accuracy Junkrat in the world right now, according to according to Master Overwatch. But that's because no one else is playing Junkrat, so I'll answer as the unofficially person with the highest accuracy. It's definitely doable. It's definitely doable. You just got to get the right angle. The reason I like Junkrat on attack is you can break their shield from farther back. You could just keep pounding the shield in a scenario where the other DPS characters just aren't going to get damage down. I mean, Kree's just going to plink away. The other tanks, they don't have the reach. So you're just going to, as you come up, as you approach, you're going to win the fight. And there's very few angles that you can have the Reinhardt shield shielding the team that Junkrat can't reach. So, yeah, even if he's up like that, you can reach him. Like Dorado, you could be a jerk and just sit near spawn and hit the spot where they hide up top, push him back a little bit early. Yeah, you can use indirect fire with him. But as for Hollywood, yeah, you can get in there. You can break shield.
Wait, you can. From Dorado, from your own spawn, you can hit there?
Yeah, you can hit.
Really? Wow.
They break, yeah. You can even do it, what is it, Red Building? Roughly around that area you can do it, but you can't use the building as cover as far as I know. But you can use the cart. So, as you're you could just sit behind the cart, indirect fire, and just break shield that way. And then as you come around the corner, they're probably not going to be fully charged. The shield's probably not going to be fully charged compared to yours. I don't know. I think something teams should really start looking at as far as Reinhardt's shield fights go. It's a little bit more reliable than relying on fiddly flashbang type plays or speed boosting shit and to try to counter the counters and I don't know. It's just reliable. You just reliably break the shield. He's also not too bad against Monkey. He breaks the Monkey shield in I think it's 3 shots, and then he can bounce the Monkey out into space. And I don't know. He's probably not good against defenses that have high mobility, like the jump in type defenses. Probably better off with a Reaper in that scenario.
Because I've been seeing it a lot in Europe, actually. A lot of people are running offensive Junkrat. Also against defense Junkrat, yeah. And it's not even... I don't think they realistically think that it's super strong, that they have this sleeper pick. I just think they like playing it, and there's so many Junkrat mains around. I don't know. In general, the concept of mains, I currently have a lot in my games. I recently had someone with 140 hours of only Bastion and ranked in my game, and his name was Bob.
Bob?
Dude, that dude triggered me.
Bob the Bastion? Oh my god.
Oh my god, I didn't realize. Yeah, Bob the Bastion, exactly.
That's gotta be a meme. Bob the Bastion, mate.
It should be pretty easy to find him, I guess. He has an insane amount of hours on Bastion. And, I guess, the way you explain it makes a lot of sense. The problem is, especially on high ground, I feel like getting the shield down is not as valuable, because most of the time, getting the shield down is often about who gets the ult, the Reinhardt ult, right?
Yeah.
And that is simply inconsequential because they are higher ground. Your Reinhardt's probably not going to reach up there. So,
but you can still displace them. I mean, you're not going to wipe them. And usually when teams like set up there, what they do is they set up, poke, 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 and then jump down. I guess that's what I've been viewing in pro play. And if you minimize their ability to like hold out up there and jump down at the opportune time, it's a little better, I guess, in my opinion. But then again, I'm not masters or grandmasters. I'm still just a platinum guy.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Before we go on more rambles, I'm gonna chop this guy off. Good week this week. Make sure I wanted to do one more thing, which was in the comments. I was gonna ask on the podcast, but I want you guys to ask it, all the viewers, anybody who checks out the video. What's your unpopular Overwatch opinion as far as a character that you hate, everybody loves, something like that, or a feature that everybody likes, or maybe you just don't like the game. If you honestly don't like the game and you want to make a huge dialogue about why, but you still watch our podcast for some reason, go for it. You guys are doing a really good job with subbing on the YouTube content. The subs just tell us that we're doing a good job, and it's, making us want to put forth more effort and make more stuff for you guys and make sure we're here every week. We do go live on Twitch, though, so if you guys can make it, we are still amateurish on Twitch as far as getting the exact time down. It's, roughly just after 7 p.m. on Thursday nights. And Twitter is, if you want to watch or if you want to have a notification, I always tweet right before the show. So if you want to follow us on Twitter, that's another option. That's all 3 of our social medias. I myself have been trying to stream at least one day a week. Only, not for all day like some people can make it, usually about an hour or 2 or something like that. I don't know if you guys are still just mainly playing.
Yep.
Okay. That about wraps it up then. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's cast, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a good night.